you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. You know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about my guest. Her name is Carol Holton, and we're talking about her book, Happy and Sad. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Carol. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Hi, Dr. Angela. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to talk. Absolutely. I can't wait to talk to you about your children's book, but as is tradition around here, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves. There may be a few folks out there that are unfamiliar with you or your work. So first question, what makes you you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
What makes me me is I grew up in New York City, and I was a child who always dreamed the dream of being a professional dancer, and that dream came true. So it took me through many travels around the world performing and many wonderful experiences that I hold on and have shared with my students as an educator. Like I said, grew up in New York City, educated there, and moved to Los Angeles 27 years ago. And I've been an educator here ever since.
Oh, I love that. There is nothing like living out one's dreams. It is an awesome thing. I love it. I love it. Now, speaking of that, being an author, is that something that has always been on your list of things to accomplish, or did you find that life presented you with an opportunity and you said yes?
Life presented me with an opportunity, and I said yes, Dr. Angela, because it's like when you go through certain life experiences, you want to share those with other people for the commonality of that they may have gone through the same thing as you, or to inspire them from your experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I mean? That someone else, to know someone else, dreams came true. To know someone else has gone through good times and bad times and struggles like yourself. It's encouraging, I feel.
Absolutely.
To my readers. Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I find that many of the comments that I get from the program is, thank you for having that author on, because I'm going through that, or someone I know is going through that, and I was able to share that episode with them, and it really helped them. So you're right. And then to have a book, because that's the common thing, the common denominator with every guest. Everyone has a book. So not only are you inspired by the author's words, but you get to also pick up that tangible thing that will stay with you as well in the book. So thank you for that comment. Now, speaking of a book, the title of your children's book is Happy and Sad. Why was that the appropriate title for this work?
What's appropriate is that this book actually started out as when I was going through my teacher training in college. Through my psychology class, it started out as a project, and I actually developed it later as a book. Because I wanted to share with people that and children, parents, that there are happy and sad times. And this is an issue that we as parents need to discuss with our children. That what's going on in the world today is very scary. So we have to assure our young people that that's a part of life. There'll be happy times and there'll be sad times. But all in all, we go through them together. And together we can go through anything. And so that's basically the message.
Absolutely. You are so right there. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, for many of the authors that I speak with, when they have written a book, they've used someone that they know as inspiration. With that being said, I want to give you the same opportunity. were you inspired by anyone in your life? Did you use anyone that you know and use their personality in this book?
Oh, absolutely. I used my only son. So this book was basically our story, our true story of me as a single parent before I had moved to LA and married his father. So this was the kind of the struggles as I was a single parent, raising him, going to school myself, working full time, and trying to raise a child and keep him sound-minded and happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think that many people understand quite the trials and tribulations of single parents. I notice that when my clients come in and they are a single parent, that one of the things that they say is that there's just not enough time, or I just want to make sure that, my son or daughter really knows that I love them and that I'm not away from them because I choose to be, that I want to create these great memories. And it's like, absolutely. That can be a really tough things that moms go through there. So thank you for sharing that. Now, speaking of that, who would you say is the understanding what's going on portion? Who would you say is the ideal reader? What age group is appropriate for your book?
I would say from a child who's avid at reading at an early age, I would say from age 4 to 12, for sure.
So then this book is appropriate for perhaps a big brother or sister to read to a little brother or sister.
Absolutely, because I've actually had children of those different children of different age groups read the book, and then they gave me feedback on what it meant to them, and they understood it. And it's also like an introduction to journaling. So so it's important for me, especially as an educator, what I've learned through social emotional learning, to give kids a chance to write down their feelings. So this is at the back of the book is actually a place for them to write down what makes me happy, what makes me sad. So it's an introduction to journaling, and especially as Christian parents, we go to church and we take notes from our pastors and stuff, and our children go to Sunday school. So it just ties in, especially as an educator, a public school educator, where we don't have or can't speak of religion in schools. I think this is a good tool for kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when you were going through the process of writing and getting the story together, of course, with children's books, you don't have as many pages as you do in books that are destined to be in the hands of adults. It's not 200-300 pages long. What was the process like in trying to make sure that you got the message across that you wanted the children to receive without it being too wordy, but flip side of the coin, without editing out too much?
Right, just like I said, drawing from real life. So it's not like I'm even making something up, because I drew the story from real life where I actually witnessed this happen with my son and his emotions and his reactions to moving to a new place. So I know so many children have gone through that, moving to another state when they had to leave friends and they were already happy someplace, but because of circumstances, like even through COVID, they had to move. They can't afford California anymore, so they have to move to another state, or because of finances. And kids don't understand that because they're too young to understand what adult decisions parents have to make, and they have no say in it. And so we have to realize and make sure that our kids are okay and explain to them everything, and it's not no more children should be seen and not heard. We have to know what they're feeling and make them secure in what they're feeling, and let them know that whatever emotion they have is okay, but as adults we need to explain to them why.
Now, for a children's book, you have a tendency to include illustrations. Most children's books are done very beautifully, and you can tell that the author and the illustrator have worked hand in hand to present a beautiful project. What was it like for you in that particular stage? How did you select the person that did the illustrations for you, or how did you go about determining, yes, this is right, and this is how I want my pictures to appear in the book?
Well, when I mentioned earlier that this book started out as a college project when I was going through school to be a teacher, and my brother was always a talented artist, so I had saved the illustrations from that project for years, and then when going through my files, when I decided to do the book, I asked him to recreate and to make more illustrations. So it was like a little family legacy that this is something that myself and my only brother did together. It was very special for me, for him to do the illustrations because it was like a family project, and I wanted to include him because he was the original illustrator.
Right, of course. Which leads me to the next question of, when you held that first copy of the book in your hands, it has, been from start to finish, and you now have copy number 1. How did you feel in that moment?
It's so exciting. It's like so many times we don't try to do things, or we have things on our heart that we want to put out into the universe, into the world, and share with people, and we keep it inside, but everybody has a voice, so I was happy that this voice, this thing that I wanted to say, because I believe the time that I spent with my son, especially in his younger years, especially the years where we probably struggled the hardest, were the most precious memories that I'll ever have. So yeah, I was so excited just because I wanted to leave something when God, called me home, that I left something behind for my grandchildren to read and my great-grandchildren to read, that because I don't believe I don't know of anybody in my family on both sides who's an author. So it's something I want to do, and it's something I want to continue to do because I have other books, on my heart, continuing with this, as well as a nonfiction book as well.
Now, we have about a minute left in this segment, but I wanted to ask you, why do you feel, and you kind of touched on it earlier, but why do you feel that this is a good tool when it comes to parent-to-child relationships?
Because just like how a lot of parents, like, they censor kids' social media. As a high school dean, I have to encourage parents to do that, to know what their kids are doing on the computer. That's a big problem in the upper grades and public schooling, I'm sure everywhere. But just to make sure that you know how your child is feeling. Like I mentioned before, that there's pages in the back for the child to journal, the reader to journal their happy times and sad times. So a mother can come home and see, oh, did you read your book? And she could see that their child wrote, oh, this is what makes me sad. And how many times are children in trouble and the parents don't even know? The rate of suicide in our country. How many times have kids taken their own life to their parents' surprise? So I think it's important, so important, especially in these difficult times, because I know when I grew up, I feel that I had a more traditional childhood, and now kids are not really having that. I mean, we could play outside without technology. I would go to my library and join the book club in the summer and see how many books I can read. And a lot of those things are lost now.
Well, Carol, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, the name of my book is Happy and Sad, and it's available on Amazon or where books are sold. My publisher is Author House, And you can also contact me at Facebook, carol.holton.71.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Carol Holton, and we're talking about her book, Happy and Sad. Now, you guys know that I love children's book authors, so they have a very interesting job, and that is both educating and entertaining our children. Edutaining, not my word, it's an official word, believe it or not, but edutaining our children, and I love it. Well, Carol, my next question for you is about, and you kind of touched on it a little bit before we went to break, and I just want to look at parents and their observation of their children. Do you feel that parents notice when their children are sad? I know many parents are very involved with their kids, and some aren't. Do you think that those that are involved, are they picking up on the fact that their children are sad whenever those moments come around?
I think that they are. As an educator, most parents that I do talk to are aware of it. I think the ones that aren't are the ones that have to be busy or hold down two jobs, maybe a single-parent household, or who have more than one child. I've talked to parents during COVID when we were doing school remotely where they had, 6 kids at the dining room table, different ages, with them all on trying to do school online, which, if you can imagine, was overwhelming for so many of my parents. I talked to hundreds of parents about this. But as an educator, these kids spend much time with us. I think we're able to notice more about their sadness than some parents because they spend more time at school.
And that was going to be my next question for you, is that do you think that many times teachers are more observant because of training and education, or do you think perhaps because they see so many different children, or because they have other children in the classroom, they make it a part of their duty or a part of their job to really kind of spend time with each child. I know many times, for example, when someone is gaining weight, you'll say, oh my goodness, I had no idea that person had gained 20 pounds, because we see them every day. But someone who doesn't see them quite as often notices the first 10 pounds. He didn't have to wait until it was 20 pounds later.
Right,
do you think that it's a similar observation because teachers only get that child for X amount of time, so they observe them differently?
I think teachers are aware, and it's such a focus on social emotional learning right now. That is a big focus in my school district, which is the second largest district in the United States, and California. We work with school psychiatrists, and as the dean, it's like so many teachers refer kids to me, and they're overwhelmed because they have so many kids in a classroom. But these kids that are trouble usually stick out and are easily to identify. Most times it's very, very, very easy to identify the withdrawn student, the student that's always acting out or lashing out. They pretty much stand out from the crowd.
Thank you for that. Now, for some folks, they want to know numbers, or statistics help them understand what you're talking about a little bit more. And if you have numbers, great, but I mean just an understanding of what statistics say in general when it comes to single-parent households and two-parent households. Are you finding as an educator that that two-parent households have more successful students, or does that not matter? As long as a parent is involved in that child's life, then the child has just as good an opportunity to be successful as a student.
Oh, excellent question. I believe that a single-parent household can be just as effective as a two-parent household, even though I do in my heart traditionally believe the two-parent household, having a father and a mother present, is key. But I say in a single-parent household, even I only had one son, so you have to find mentors or make sure that your child has a mentor from the male species, whether that's a pastor or a basketball coach or someone other male, because no matter how good a parent I am, I'm never going to be a man. So I can't teach my son how to be a man because I'm a woman. So I think as long as you have positive influences.
Right, absolutely. I could not agree with you more, because I think about the poor child who's listening, who says, well, who may be an adult now, saying, well, I had two parents, but my dad wasn't the best dad. My uncle was the best uncle in the world. Or perhaps someone saying, my mom wasn't the greatest mom, but my aunt was amazing. So
right.
So you're right. As long as you have that opposite sex or same sex
representative in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. I could not agree with you more. Now, when it comes to children talking about their emotions, I know that for many folks, when we get into the upper teens, there are so many programs and counselors available for teens to discuss how they're feeling. But for our middle school and elementary school age kids, how do they express emotion, or how do they tell a teacher that they're having a really tough go at it?
I think if teachers are compassionate, students know who they could come to on a campus. It's no mystery that certain teachers, students feel more comfortable. Like I have students, as a dean, I have students who will confide in me and say, don't tell my mom. But I will say, Jane, I have to tell your mom because that's my job. I can't keep that secret from your mom, but let's figure out the best way to address it. So there's a lot of compassionate educators out there on campus, and the few that they are, those are the ones that the kids really flock to, and those are the ones who really keep the school turning.
Absolutely. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about the teachers that I've had over my lifetime, and there are some really amazing teachers out there. And you're right, there are some teachers that even if nothing is going on at home, they still care about you. And I mean nothing like there's no drama or you're not experiencing a loss or anything like that, but they're still genuinely interested in how's your day, how are things. People need to know that someone cares about them. So you are right. Hats off to those teachers that are able to stand in the gap and help our students along, because they definitely
yeah,
it's
the ones that take the extra step. It's the ones that go the extra mile for students. It's Absolutely. The ones that who naturally go the extra mile, because there's a lot of educators you wonder why they're in the profession. If you don't love children, it's not the place to be.
Right. Absolutely. And there are some folks that I think they're just their personality type. They are just so empathetic towards the people that are around them, and the kids can feel that. Like you said, there's always those teachers that are going to stand in the gap, and you are so right there. Now, you mentioned journaling, and I wanted to leave this question a little bit towards the end to give you some more time to talk about it. And thank you for mentioning that. I know as a therapist that I give journaling homework to my clients, and it is so vital and important to not only self-assessment but self-discovery and looking at the journey that is ahead, but also being able to see how far one has come along that path. Now, you suggest this for children as well. Can you tell people why is it important, as far as our little ones are concerned, that they be introduced to this wonderful resource?
Because sometimes children don't want to verbalize how they feel. They may want to draw a picture of how they feel, or they may want to write how they feel. So they need to develop that skill to be able to write it down and find the words, because, you know, we can't always, you know, it's like the frog in the throat, or you're lost for words, but we can always write it. And it's so freeing to write it down, as well as saying something verbally that's on your mind or on your heart. To be able to write it is just as valuable. And the sooner we teach our kids of this valuable tool, it's not just like an assignment, oh, write this essay or write a 200-page essay on this. No. How do you feel today? What's bothering you? If it's a sentence or it's 10 sentences, and for that child to be able to feel comfortable enough to write it down. Oh, do you mind if I read that? No, you could read what I wrote. You know, so it's another avenue to get into not only their psyche, but their heart and their emotions and how they're feeling.
You are so right there, and I find that with many of our high school students, if your 11th grade English class or 10th grade English class is the first time you've really looked at the assignment of writing seriously, it is going to be, you know, a tough go for you at that stage, because you haven't been expressing yourself in the written format, and it could be tough for some folks. But I think that your suggestion is spot on. If we introduce it early, then it gives you permission to be comfortable with writing at any stage of your life, and you'll have that additional resource as a way to express yourself and even inform those that are around you of how you feel and what you need as well. I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, Carol, thank you so much for spending time with me here today on
Thank you for having me.
With Dr. Angela. I have so enjoyed your being here. Before I let you go, can you remind everyone one last time, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, the title of my book is Happy and Sad, available on Amazon or where books are sold. My publisher is Author House. You could get the book through there or through Facebook, carol.holton.71, or Instagram, carol.holton.13.
Thank you again, Carol, for being a guest on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
You're welcome. You're so very welcome.
And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here as well. We hope that we have enlightened, inspired, and empowered you again today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.